We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. In this portion, we are doing Ask the Experts, and that's why you see us all here today. My name is Hassani Pettiford.
I'm Lakeisha Hines.
And I'm Jeff Witt.
Boom. And we are the Avengers today, coming together to give you what you need for your relational transformation. This is the place where people all over the world come out to hang out, to talk about love, life, and relationships. And we're here to answer your questions today. So don't delay. Don't wait till 2 minutes before the show is over and then want to keep us on longer because you, the latecomer, the Johnny come lately. The early bird gets the worm. So post that question right now, whether you're single, dating, in a committed courtship, married, engaged, separated, on the verge of divorce, whatever your situation is, we want to hear from you. So post it in there. But before we get started, we'll give you a little bit of time to ask those questions. What we're going to do is we're going to go do a quick commercial. You know about the Couples Academy app. We're excited about it, but we got to keep getting the message out because sometimes you need to hear something 7, 8, 10, 12, 30 times before you move. Download it today. Check this out. Be right back.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is the Couples Academy show. We're answering your questions. The first question was, well, who's the Black Panther if you guys are the Avengers? Duh. Who else would it be? It is I. It is me. Welcome. All right, guys, we have some legitimate questions we want to get to. One coming up. Here we go from Amanda. She says, my husband is doing so good showing me love and that he is so sorry. I want him to trust me because I always did before. He tells me how the affair was the dumbest thing he had ever done and regrets it completely. I want to trust him and his actions, but some days it's just so hard to let my guard down. It's only been 2 months since D-Day of the 3.5-month affair with a coworker. Is that too soon to feel safe? I will say this, and then everyone else can jump in. I don't think you can race through the recovery process. When a discovery of an affair has occurred, there is a grieving process, and grieving oftentimes is for a season. Now, I'm not here to quantify how long the season should be. It takes some people a certain amount of time to get through, to process, to reflect, to just go through what they need to go through. I think you can delay the process, you can prolong the process, you can stay stuck in a process, but certainly having a conversation and just moving on, I don't think is enough time. So, I mean, and I'm not giving you a pass to make it too long, but the reason why, most statistics say it takes upwards of 2 years to fully heal is because there's the anniversary of D-Day. So if it happened in January, next January, what are you thinking about? What happened the January prior to? And so that's why you need to create new memories and new experiences. So the following January, you're thinking about the previous January, which should have been a positive experience. So I think what happens is when it comes to triggers and being in a stuck place, there are ebbs and flows, there's peaks and valleys, there's struggles you have throughout the process, and things over the course of time, if you're doing the necessary work, gets a little bit easier. But there's definitely a season to grieve. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think for me, I love the fact that you open, Amanda, with saying how your husband is doing a good job. He's showing love. He's showing up. He's showing remorse and empathy. And those are all things that I think when we're working with couples that we look for, that we tell you to look for. And it seems like you already see a lot of those things. And he's apologized. And it sounds like he understands what he did wrong and is making steps toward he's making steps toward retribution. So that's a beautiful thing. It's hard to let your guard down, of course, because your trust has been broken. You've been violated. It's a traumatic experience that takes place. So of course you have your guard up and you're terrified to let it down because you're afraid of something. Maybe that it'll happen again. Maybe that he's not sincere and genuine with what it is that he's doing. I don't know what your negative self-talk is. I don't know what thoughts you're having, but is it too soon to feel safe? Not necessarily, because if he's showing up and he's doing things the right way, he's giving you what you need, it's not too soon to feel safe. But you definitely have to make a decision about what it is that you want. You want to move forward, then that means we're not worried about the clock. We're not worried about the calendar. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it was 2 weeks. If you're feeling like you're ready to move forward, especially if he's giving you just cause and reason to feel confident in doing so. So he has to do his part, but you have to do your part as well, which is making up your mind that you want to heal and you want to move forward and you want to be better.
I would also just add that, it's not so much time as it is the results. And when I'm talking about results, I'm not talking about, okay, he stopped doing his old behaviors. He feels bad. He's going through this phase where he's, showing regret, showing remorse, and showing up in the relationship. But what really has to happen is creating a new version of your marriage that safeguards you from that future. And then your guard never has to come down because you both have your guard up together. By building and designing what your marriage looks like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, having those couples goals. That the problem is we all get married and then we have kids and then it's like, now what? And now what is a dangerous place to be for any couple, because some people can live their life in the mundane parts of having the same thing. But I'm telling you, if you set goals as a couple, dreams as a couple, things that you want to do, whether it be in, financially or even just spending time together and quality time like me and my wife have, those kinds of ideas where new experiences is what's going to keep it fresh and new and keep you from wanting to go astray. And so without that, I think there's a danger zone that's always going to be there.
Excellent. Here's a question from Jaguar. Have any of you ever counseled a couple so far gone and dysfunctional that you recommended divorce?
Yes.
Earlier in my practice, I made the mistake of recommending divorce to couples. And then, because in my mind, they were too far gone. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people don't take those recommendations and they do what they're going to do anyway. I've seen couples who I thought there's no way in heaven or in hell that they'll ever make it through this. And then I see them months later smiling, reconciled, and I'm like, what? And so what happens is, to your point, when they're so dysfunctional and so far gone, that's the state most couples are in when they come to us. You have to understand, 95% of the couples we work with are couples in crisis. They're dysfunctional. They're far gone. They're on the verge of divorce. They're dysfunctional. They're far gone. They're seething in pain from an affair. They're dysfunctional. They're so far gone. They're in this state, and that's why they come. And that's what makes what we do uniquely different than the typical practitioner, therapist, counselor who does marriage enrichment. We go so deep dive. We seek out the couples who are dysfunctional and so far gone. And we help to create a new reality for them by taking them through a very comprehensive process that they typically would not get. So we welcome those couples because we know what's possible for them. That's why when you see the commercial about the Last Chance Weekend, it says that most people come from a place of desperation and leave with inspiration. They come hopeless and leave with hope. They leave with help. They leave with a new path, a new course, a new way, because we were able to help unearth some things and create a new reality for their future. So, if we believe that they're too far gone and dysfunctional, it's not our job to tell you to divorce. It's our job to help highlight and show you what you may not be seeing. It's our job to help pull out truths that you may, struggle with. And we guide you through a process where the decision becomes clear. Now, does every marriage restore? No. But oftentimes this has everything to do with the will of the people in terms of why it doesn't. Not that it can't, it's the will of the people. And so if you're a willing participant in the recovery and transformation process, it doesn't matter how crazy things are, you can see another reality. Thoughts, guys?
I've only seen two scenarios where I would personally recommend divorce. One is in the cases of extreme abuse. I'm not talking about somebody got mad and got popped, slapped, something like that. That's wrong. It's bad. But I'm talking about extreme abuse that does not cease even with counseling, because there's a danger zone there. At certain points, you have to just say enough is enough. And the other scenario was, and this was just one time I've seen this, where someone went through all the counseling steps, very nice type people, all of the things, and at the end of the day, refused to leave the other woman. Just absolutely refused to leave the other woman. And decided that they really wanted that life with them. Now, they didn't have any kids together, and there was a bunch of other things there that were weird about that scenario. But just months and 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 months of therapy, and nope, I don't want to leave her. That's the only time I've ever seen where, actually, and that was even mutually agreed upon. I think, Asana, you were involved in that one. They agreed to divorce because they just couldn't get past it. But those are only two times. But those are rare, very rare.
Yeah, that's why I think in the last 10 years of working with couples, we've experienced 6 divorces that we're aware of. We pretty much have a close tie to the couples who have come through here. 6 in 10 years. So it's not always going to work, but I tell you, you increase the probability of it working when you come through here. But anyway, Lakeisha, I know you want to weigh in.
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with you, Jeff. I haven't had that situation where there has been abuse and someone just refused to walk away from the affair partner. Those to me are legitimate situations to recommend divorce for sure. So I haven't had those scenarios. So for me personally, no, I have not recommended divorce. Everybody that shows up is dysfunctional. And they're delusional at the same time because they can't even see their dysfunction. So as Hassani said, like, it's our job to point it out and show you, and you give us permission to do that, right? And even when you don't, we do it anyway because you need the help. So I just think for me, you have to decide for yourselves. Like, my faith is so strong. We are always fighting. Hassani says this, I'm quoting, we're fighting for your last name, not your first name. And so for us, we're going to fight tooth and nail for your marriage, but you got to show up willing to do the work. That's the issue. There is no magic wand that we're waving. Both parties have to show up willing to do what needs to be done. Now, when you tell me that you don't want to do the work, you're no longer committed to doing the work, well, then what are we doing? Then we'll have a conversation to say you're either going to do the work, stay together, or you're not going to do the work and stop wasting each other's time. But I'm still not telling you to get a divorce. I'm telling you fight for your marriage.
One scenario out there that I would definitely say definitively I would always recommend divorce: pedophilia.
And there it is.
There
Next
it is.
question. How do I get my husband to see the damage that has been done to me and our marriage? His affair was with his best friend's wife. We've had limited good counseling. Our children were all best friends. Our daughter is so damaged. He keeps telling me I'm overthinking and I'm dwelling on this. Please help us, Ryan Schultz. Well, let us help you. The last statement answers your entire question. Let us help you. Reach out to us, couplesacademy.org. Let's set up a discovery call. Are you overthinking what has happened? Well, that would be nice for your husband to think. I mean, how could you not? Yeah, just stop thinking about it. Right? Simple, right? Just stop thinking about it. It's only your husband's best friend's wife. The children are only good friends with each other. Like, this is the situation, right? This is where we call this almost like a double betrayal, if you will, because it's not like it's an affair with someone else that we don't know. This close proximity here, this relationship here, the children are impacted. And so there's a lot to kind of get through. And you said that you received limited good counseling. Well, now it's time to go beyond those limits and do something deep dive that will be transformational. So we would love to hear from you. Yes.
I just want to say the question was, how do you get your husband to see? You can't. He can't receive from you. You need a third party to come in, step in, and show him the light. So call.
Boom. Let's go to the next one. LaShawn Cook. I love your show and the people you add to your Couples Academy family. I would have loved to come and to get help. My husband and I desperately needed it. However, we are separated now. Well, guess what? 30% of the couples who come to the Last Chance Weekend are separated. So you're in good company, right? Matter of fact, we have a couple coming this in May. They've been separated for 5 years. Yet and still, they're coming to the Last Chance Weekend. We have a couple who divorced. And they're like, you know what? We think we want to reconcile. Would this be a good fit for us? Absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay. So this is why group is so important, because when you come alone to a private, which is also amazing, you don't have anyone else or any other couple to compare your situation to. But when you come into a group setting, you're like, oh my God, I thought we were the only ones, or I thought it couldn't get any worse than what we were going through. You quickly have a new perspective on things, and you believe what's possible because you see, man, we're not alone in this. And it's not that misery loves company, so I'm glad we're not alone. But it's hopeful and encouraging to say, man, there's other people who've gone through what we're going through, and yet they still want to endure. And so what happens is that's what we call positive peer pressure. If I'm around other people who've been through crisis and they're moving forward and they're overcoming things, and guess what? We can do so as well. And being in a separated state under two different roofs, and still wanting to come and seek help, listen, this is the place where you want to be. Get up under this roof and let us help restore that relationship.
You know what my most amazing experiences are? Watching the judgment because it happens. We're all human. We
Yeah.
judge people. People will walk in and they'll be like, "Oh, that couple's never gonna make it." Everyone is saying it. You can feel them. You can hear the whispers. Like, oh, you can see the looks. And it's always that couple, the one that's never gonna make it. That's like all lovey-dovey, leaving happy as ever. It's just amazing to me. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a comment from Denise. Morning, the show yesterday left me in tears as you were able to articulate and put words to what I have been living with for years, even more so now. I would always say I felt abused, but would be immediately dismissed. How do you heal from the gaslighting and trauma alongside this recovery process when there's still so much recent trauma? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Well, number one, we need to address as a couple the gaslighting and the trauma. We need to we need to do a deeper dive in that, and we will, because I know who you is. I know who you are. We will do that. But in addition to that, you're asking a question: how can I? How do you heal, sis? I've told you. I've already told you. I've told you in private. I've told you verbally. I've told you through text and email. Now I'm going to tell you in front of all the world to see. Join Unearthed. You need to be unearthed because your healing process is different than your spouse's healing process. Both of you individually have your own journey.
Yeah.
And so when you fight it, resist it, deny it, you're not going to get what you need. Forgive me for being trite, but I've said this 1,000 times. The reason why we have individual recovery, marital recovery, and affair recovery, we have 3 separate things going on here. If we just focused on your marriage and made your marriage squeaky clean and perfect, but didn't focus on you individually, you still have 2 broken people in a fixed marriage. At some point, you're going to wind up breaking the marriage because you're broken. If all we did was focus on your individual healing and not your marriage, now you have 2 individuals who heal, who grow, who become better, but there's nothing tying or binding them together. There's no shared purpose like their marriage. So now you have 2 people who outgrown each other and don't want to go back to a broken situation. So we do both. We do both. That's why we say the key to your marital restoration is your personal transformation. And so that is how you do it. Let us work on him, let us work on you, and let us work with you both collectively so that you can get all that you came to get. That's the answer. Anybody want to put a cherry on that top?
I just want to say, when you are internally full of, and I'm not accusing you of this, Denise, because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm speaking in generally for everybody else that's watching that this question may benefit from. When you are full of unforgiveness, anger, bitterness, resentment, shame, guilt, self-esteem issues, body esteem issues, you're full of all of these negative things. When your spouse does get well and they are transformed and they begin to try to pour love into you, there's no space for you to receive it because it's full of all of that other stuff that you haven't cleaned up or unearthed as of yet. So you've got to get all of that out. You've got to heal from all of that stuff that you even brought into the marriage that you haven't let go of. And then the things that have happened since you've been married to make space for all the positive, wonderful, good things that your spouse is trying to do.
And I just want to add one thing. A lot of us are looking for healing through tools. There is no healing through tools. Tools are great coping mechanisms. Tools are great things to use in order to create something better. But all the healing is going to happen inside of you. You actually have that access to that on your own. But if you don't know how to get there, it's best to work with people who've done it over and over and over again with multiple people and who are examples of people who've recovered and healed. Yeah. All of us have walked that journey. And one of the hardest things for me as a tough guy, always looking for the tool to fix everything, to learn was that there's this little tiny space in me that I used to just put things in and stuff them away. And in that little box, somewhere in some corner, in some dark place back in my past, was the joy I'd been hiding from myself the entire time. And I had to learn how to unlock that and find that joy again and learn to let it go so that I can actually experience life as a loving husband, as a person excited to embrace the world on a daily basis.
Boom. There it is. All right. LMC 116 day 1 _G. We started off great after the last chance weekend. Now all of a sudden, we're stuck in the normal routine, and I find myself shutting down and feeding off the energy negative that is being displayed.
First of all, I know who you are, and I didn't have an opportunity to really get you, but now you can put yourself out here. So now I'm coming for you. Here's the situation. You cannot continue holding on to the things that have transpired in the past. You are pulling from the past and allowing it to dictate what's happening in your present, which is going to jack up your future. You have got to release everything that you said you were leaving at last chance weekend. See, we like to pray these prayers, right? We like to pray to God and say, oh God, help me recover from this. Help me heal from this. I'm giving this over to you. So we release it, but then we go, God, let me have that back. Give me that back. And we take it back. So either you're going to release it and let it go and move forward, or you're going to continue to stay stuck in that place. You cannot continue pulling from previous experiences, past hurts, past pains, and using that to now try to understand what's presently happening today. It's not fair to yourself. It's not fair to your husband. When he's showing up, he's trying to do everything the right way. He's communicating whereas he wasn't communicating before. And he's having these difficult conversations with you. It may not always go in a positive direction because you get frustrated, he gets frustrated, and then nobody can hear anybody. But you cannot continue pulling from the past. You have to look at what's going on today and use that to help guide you into your future. Sorry, I know who she is. So
well, there it is. There's the answer. In addition to that, because I don't know who you are, a lot of times you do an experience and it's transformational and you feel new and you are new. And then you go back home into the same old environment with the same old habits, old ways, It's just like a person who, goes to church, right, is in the healing line, and then they get healed and delivered from an ailment. And then it pops back up 2-3 months later. And then the question is, well, good, I guess that wasn't real. I guess nothing really happened. Well, did you change your behaviors? Did you stop eating the such and such and drinking the such and like, you got your healing, but then you have to walk in health to maintain the healing that you got. Because when we go back to the same old patterns and same old ways, the same old things happen. Doing more of the same will just get you more of the same. So, you come out of the last chance weekend as the first day of the rest of your life, day 1. And because it's day 1, you're agreeing to press that restart button and to show up differently, to think differently, to do differently. And that's the constant renewal of your mind and the checking of these behaviors to make sure that you're in alignment with everything that you got from that weekend. If you are, then things will get progressively better instead of slip back into old patterns that keep you trapped in your pain. So listen, that's why the Moving Forward program is here, to act as an accountability and give you a deeper dive for you to get to a better place. All right, got another question. Huh?
She's in there. And that last sentence of literally, I find myself shutting down and feeding off negative energy. What you're doing is doing the same thing you always doing and feeding off the negative energy. Now you're saying, well, I'm showing up because of what he's doing, which is going back to the blame game again. And we can't do it.
Boom.
But they're in there. They're in moving forward. They'll keep moving forward.
Boom. Well, that's what happens. There's a drift and a current that will push you forward, but you got to get in. You got to get in the flow. Greg says, my partner cheated 2 months ago and refuses to do any counseling. My jealousy and controlling behavior have been too much for her, and it's now claiming I'm abusing her. He goes on to say, I'm in therapy now, but is there anything else that I can do but give her the space that she wants because she does not feel safe?
Oh, wow. I'm surprised, Jeff. I just thought you were going to jump all over that.
I haven't. The truth of the matter is, brother, if she doesn't feel safe, You said she feels like you're abusing her. I'm letting you know it's probably abuse, brother. It probably is abuse. I haven't seen it, and I've seen exaggerations of it, but the truth of the matter is, if she really does not feel safe, you do need to get that under control. And I understand when you get that under control, you won't need as much space because you're not getting angry. I probably have anger issues. I'm not judging you. I don't know who you are, but if you have a lot of anger issues and you're yelling and you're screaming, and that can become abusive. It can become abusive really quickly. One little spat, no, but when it's constant, and if you have jealous and controlling behaviors where you're constantly telling us, that is abuse. That is abuse. And at the end of the day, you have to realize that it's your personal insecurities that are causing you to become jealous. If you were like that and that's what drove her away, if you were already like that, I want to condition that. If you were already like that and that's what drove her away, you created your own reality. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't have any guilt or responsibility in what she did, but if you're sitting there acting jealous all the time, there is a trigger that I constantly hear from people who deal with jealous, controlling spouses, whether it's a male or a female. Well, man, if they keep saying I'm doing it, I might as well just do it. Now, that's not an excuse for the behavior, but it's the same thing said by almost every single person. And I remember being that person who had a controlling wife. My wife is extremely loving now, but I'm also acting and showing up different. And you've got to act and become somebody new, brother. So if you can't get her into counseling, I say, and I know you're going to therapy, I would honestly take a good look at Foundry, because it sounds to me like you have your own insecurities. Because when you know who you are, you'll be able to judge things based on the facts. And if she's stepping out just because she's stepping out, not because of your controlling behaviors, that's a whole different can of worms to deal with than if you're creating an environment where she doesn't feel safe and she's looking for safety somewhere else. So I would suggest you work on you. Foundry is a great place to do that. Give us a call.
Love it. We got a couple more I want to hit before you have to go, Lakeisha. Jaguar Ross says, after so many betrayals, 11 plus years of lies, I feel like Charlie Brown and he's Lucy with the football. Isn't it foolish to keep trusting someone unwilling or incapable of controlling his behavior? Yes. Yeah. If somebody's continually lying and cheating and you're trusting, well, how could you trust someone who's lying and cheating? How can you trust in the present someone who is presently doing something to deceive you, to dishonor you, to betray you? You can't. So yes, it's foolish. All right, next question. Shanice, my husband is the type that gets drained by too much emotional expression. I'm a very emotional person. How can we communicate in the meantime without making each other feel uncared for? Now, this is a great question. I would love for us all to weigh in, because now we're talking about personality styles. And truth be told, there are certain people who are heart-centered, head-centered, and then gut-centered, and we all are wired differently. And so while you may have a capacity, perfect example. I have a cup here. I have a can here, right? So let's just say the person who's emotional has this much of emotions in this size cup, but the other person has this much of emotions. Well, once they've reached their limit, they can't take anymore. They have to tap out. You have the capacity for a whole lot more emotions. And so some people it drains the life out of. Matter of fact, Lakeisha, you're perfect example, because, for instance, you're a 7, my wife's a 7, so I know this about 7s. They deal with the whole head thing and the anxiety, and they're in their head, but dealing with a whole lot of emotions or people who are very emotional could be draining for certain personality types, right? And so you just have to learn how to show up and engage and know when to push pause and take a break and disassemble and come back together, because it's only so much a person can take. Now, it's not an attempt to shut you down, but how do we have a conversation that is mutually beneficial where we maintain our emotions to be able to get through something? See, the fact of the matter is emotions are not logical. There's no logic in an emotion. So how can we have a logical, sensible conversation when we're trying to resolve a problem if it becomes emotionalized, if it becomes feeling oriented? And that's the challenge. You're speaking a different language. Your partner may be speaking the language of logic. You're speaking the language of feeling and emotions. And they're two different languages, and there's no connection there. Anybody want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
100% agree. I 100% agree with that. And for me, while I am head, I'm also an emotional person. I think just as a woman, I am, and my husband is not. And so or not as emotional as I am, because men are emotional. They just express their emotions differently. So situation is, you've got to figure out how to communicate with him, express your emotions without overwhelming him. There has to be a balance. One of the things that we work on truthfully at Last Chance Weekend is communication, understanding your personality styles, which is something that you can do there or outside of there if you don't need that group setting. But we help you guys figure out how you're able to communicate in a way that takes the feelings out, that takes the emotions out, and you're having a strategic, focused, clear, concise, direct conversation that won't overwhelm your husband. And there's an art to it, for sure.
When you develop if you take the Enneagram test, or if you sign up for that on Couples Academy, you do work with Danielle on the Enneagram, and that is eye-opening. And then whatever you're at, you're usually at a stage of that, healthy, unhealthy, etc. Your best version of yourself, your worst version of yourself. What I'm finding more and more as I become a healthier version of myself is that I'm a 3. So I need attention, I need appreciation, I need all this stuff. That's what a 3 is. Hassani's the same 3. We have different wings, but that 3 is constantly seeking that praise. Well, the stronger I've become, I'm able to get that praise from myself, and I don't necessarily need it from other people. So I was constantly looking for that in my wife, and my wife is that person who is less emotional, more reserved, definitely gets drained by people and situations. And I had to learn her. I had to learn me first and develop a stronger version of me so that I could appreciate me and give myself my own pat on the back and feel good. And then I had to learn her in a way that I keep her from being emotionally drained. So both of you need to learn each other. And you can start with things like the Enneagram. If you're in crisis and you're going through crisis over it, definitely take a look at Last Chance Weekend or any of the counseling services. And then, but you need to find out. These tests, they actually help. I used to think they were all hoodoo voodoo. But as I got heavier into psychology and got heavier into personality tests and different things like that, it's like, when you really, really understand them, it's like magic, because you can see it getting ready to happen. You can turn it off if you're paying attention.
Yeah. Excellent point. Listen, we got a couple more. D says, my wife is not showing up every day. When I bring it to her attention, she gets upset. Help. So when you say not showing up, I'm assuming you mean not showing up, being consistent, doing the right thing. I don't know the situation. It's just a broad statement. So I don't know how to give you particular help. Maybe it's the way in which you bring it up. A lot of times if things are brought up the wrong way, with the wrong tone, with the wrong energy and frustration, it can seem off-putting, and the wall goes up. They shut you down. They stonewall. They're not willing to hear it. Don't come to me with that. There's an approach to things. I've often recommended this book, and I tell you, I keep saying somebody needs to do the marriage version of it, and maybe I'm talking to myself, but I think that one of the greatest books on communication is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it was written, and I mean, it's an international bestseller that has gone from one decade to another. And it is just incredible. And it gives amazing techniques on how to bring critique or correction to a person in a way that they can receive it and not reject it. And so I think we're going to have to do a series on that, because it's so amazing. But that's what I would say. Why don't you check your approach? And then the other thing I would say is be the example. Like, whatever it is you want her to do, be that, right? Because if you are that, the goal would be for her to mirror what you are modeling. Okay. But if you have a deeper dive into that statement, we would love to unpack it and get more clarity so that we can give you more answers. But there it is. There's a couple more here, Jeff. These are more common. Okay, I think Glenda, all right, here we go. Emotions can constantly change. That's why we have to bring these emotions under submission so effective communication can help. Yeah, but it has to be on both sides. Agreed. It does have to be on both sides, right? Emotions can change. And the reality is, this is why we say all the time, like for the person who said that they're very, very, very emotional, like never share your feelings when you're in your feelings. I mean, write that down. Write that down. Put that on your refrigerator. Repeat it daily. Never share your feelings when you're in your feelings, because some of you are motivated to talk when you're frustrated. And I just have to say what's on my mind. Some of you are motivated when you're in tears and you're all shaken up and I can't even hear. Like when my child, I have 4 kids, right? I remember when my youngest daughter was really younger, when she would come to me, and I'm just like, I don't even what are you saying? Like, calm down, breathe. I don't understand what you're saying. You're talking and I can't even comprehend it. And so when you're sharing your feelings, when you're in your feelings, 9 times out of 10, it's never going to go the way that you want it to. This is why you want to get it out. Release it. There's something called releasing the rage, so you don't bring a rageful disposition to your spouse when you communicate. You want to get it out of your system so that you can have a healthier version of a conversation to get to the meat, to get to the core, to bring about resolution. Jeff.
No, I was going to say release the rage. You said it. I mean, I do it. I don't do it as much anymore because I don't need it as much anymore. But in the beginning, I would literally go in the backyard, scream at the top of my lungs, do like 25 push-ups, calm down, do breathing exercises. Then, as soon as I felt calm again, then we go talk. And that may take an hour or 2, sometimes a day. But yeah, releasing the rage is important. If you got a heavy bag, go punch on it, something like that. Just get it out. And then once you get it out, then you have the chance to think about it in a calm manner and deal with it in a rational way. But yeah, you don't do that in business either. When I'm angry in business because somebody did something crazy, I get strategic with it. I go get lawyers and counselors and this and that and the other things, ways I can go about it and figure it out. Okay, what do I want? What do I want as an outcome? How would I need to approach this if I want this as an outcome? Because we know what anger does. It just throws up walls and gets punches thrown back. So
Absolutely.
We got to learn to separate ourselves from the emotion. Eventually, you'll be able to manage your emotions instead of being managed by your emotions.
There it is.
That's a growth process.
Absolutely. Miss Jules Smith says, for those of you who have already attended the Last Chance Weekend, pull those Enneagram sheets out and look at them. Use it for workday conversation. Excellent, excellent point. This is the point, going back to the tools, like you got to work them. I just bought a toolkit, a tool shed, Jeff. And I said, you know what? We have all these random tools all over the place. I need a place to organize them. And I bought some new tools. So, you go over there right now. It's looking pretty good. But, when things break, when things get loose, when things get rickety, if I don't use the tools, it's not going to do anything, right? If I just keep looking at the problem, knowing that the tools are in the tool shed, but I never grab the tool, then what's rickety and loose is going to get worse until eventually it just completely breaks. Right. You've got to use the tools. It will work if you work it. I want you to answer this question, Jeff. This is from Deborah. I'm feeling frustrated. I keep trying to explain my feelings to my husband, but he never has anything in return. He says he doesn't want to fail me. Not understanding it.
All right. So listen, he is saying he doesn't want to fail you. That shows his level of commitment, because a lot of times guys will just shut down and won't even talk or discuss that. He doesn't want to fail you. And you're having an issue in communication because you communicate in one way. He communicates and he probably shovels everything in a box and sticks it in the back corner somewhere and just lets it build. So he has to learn communication skills. It is something we focus on in Foundry. It's one of the most important parts, is learning how to communicate effectively, right? And so it's something we really care about, because a lot of guys do that. And women do it too. We just shove stuff down, and we don't want to say the wrong thing. And so men also have a very hard time because we think we're logical. And the truth of the matter is, most of us are living in logical fallacies. We see things in ways that we believe we can articulate in a certain way. Well, it's black or white, it's this or that. We do these kinds of things to ourselves. And the truth of the matter is, we live life in a beautiful color spectrum, and only the colorblind live in the choices between shades of gray. So what we need to do is learn how to communicate what we're feeling, but that's a process. You don't learn that in school. You don't get that in college. You don't get that in most counseling. You need someone who's actually going to help you develop those skills the same way that you would develop a person who's not a very good speaker, but pretty good at doing a particular skill. You would have to get them into different ways of actually starting to try to communicate, and you need to give them a space to grow in. And that has to come from people who are already good at doing that and have come out of that darkness and can now shine their light. I'm telling you, if he's been hiding it for years and shoving it in a box for years, he can get out of it. I've watched people overcome stuttering. I've watched people overcome all kinds of weird incapabilities to communicate and become some of the most articulate people you've ever met.
There it is, guys. You've been watching Couples Academy. This is the Ask the Experts portion. Hope you got something that was impactful for you. Hope you have an amazing week, and we will see you on Monday as we continue in the series on communication. And then we're going to delve into so many other areas that we know people are in high anticipation for. But having an amazing weekend. Sit down with your spouse, watch one of these videos, have an effective breakthrough conversation that results in something positive. Listen, guys, love you guys. You're watching the Couples Academy show. Take care.